Yo, what up, man? Chris, somebody checking back in, man. Back with a blog, man. Make sure that like button, that subscribe button, Wayne. I appreciate all the support. Salute to everybody, man. Hope you guys is having a good week. You know what I'm saying? It's almost Friday. Getting ready for the weekend, man. I am in Newark, New Jersey right now. About to chill here for the night, and then I'll be off back to Atlanta tomorrow. So salute to everybody, man. Shout out to everybody. We got a little bit of news for the day. John the Don apparently has sent TBL and Cassidy a cease and desist. Easy revealed that, I was already hearing that behind the scenes and everything, but Easy revealed that John tried to stop the battle, do a cease and desist. Basically saying, you haven't heard, obviously you ain't heard what happened with Hitman and all this kind of stuff. I've been quiet about it. This is what Easy was saying. He basically, kind of implying that the battle will still go on, like same way they tried to stop him and Hitman. Nothing's gonna change about this battle. So it's kind of crazy. This is where we are right now. A cease and desist to stop the Cassidy and an Easy battle. First of all, I feel like this is some BS. I also feel like John is crashing out. I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel like he's just crashing out, and I feel like everything that he's done to try to negate, like, everything has just been wrong. You know what I'm saying? He's actually lucky I'm not home to craft him a blog. He's actually lucky I'm not, like, pulling all the mistakes and all the lies that he's said and all the times that he kind of caught himself up. He's talked about this situation a few times, and sometimes that he's told the story kind of incorrectly. It didn't really match up to what he said previous. So if I was home, I could edit all that stuff in and do all that, but this is just a Van Chronicle, so we just kind of talking about it right now. But I do feel like this is just a bad look for him in terms of public perception. It's just going to continue to make him look bad, and I honestly don't feel like he can recover from this. I think he's done, if I'm being real. When I say done, I don't ever really mean they won't battle anymore, or league won't book him, or maybe Bullpen will do another event. I don't really mean done like that. I feel like in battle rap, once you lose your respect, I feel like that's when your career kind of comes to a halt. And I think John had a lot of respect, and I think right now he doesn't have any respect. I think people's not going to respect his cease and desist. People's not going to respect a lot of the moves. He hasn't been really apologetic to anybody that he's owed any money to. He's actually been upset of people that have came out about money that he's owed. He's mad about bloggers for reporting on this, but at the same time, he don't want to tell the story because he, quote unquote, don't feel like talking about it publicly. And it's just a situation where he hasn't taken any accountability, and he's actually lied about a few things too. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's lied about a few things. I see him on Twitter acting like, okay, I'm going to debunk these lies. He's acting like he got a lawsuit coming, a defamation lawsuit. He's acting like he's suing Cassidy and all this different stuff. He's acting like, he suing the investor. Just a lot of this stuff is just cap. Like, John isn't suing nobody. This cease and desist is fake. This suing people is fake. This documentary he got going on is probably fake as well. This is like the most ChatGPT ass nigga. This is who his lawyer is, ChatGPT. To think that you actually is suing somebody, which means that you got to go sue people in their county. You got to go find out their information, sue them in their county. I'm talking about if you take them to small claims court. To think that you're doing that is just not true. This is all just to save face, and it's just making him look stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of times people don't even respect a lot of the moves that he's trying to make. In one breath, you're saying, I don't want the Cassidy and Easy battle to go on. But in another breath, you don't want to do the battle. And I know for a fact that the battle has tried to be booked on another league, and John turned it down. So another league had reached out to John to try to make the battle happen, and he turned it down. So you don't want to do the battle. You don't want to do the battle. So if you don't want to do the battle, how are you going to try to stop a battle that you have publicly said that you don't want to do? You know what I'm saying? And as far as defamation, you don't have a defamation case. When I got out of jail and there was all these blogs and all this stuff going on about everything that was going on with the case, there was a lot of misinformation out there. I looked into the same thing. Oh, how can I take down YouTube channels? How can I, take people to court? How can I strip them of damn near all their YouTube money earnings. It's a very detailed process. And when I see him just hop online and just be like, yo, when I debunk all the lies, that means I'm defamed. No, there's a fine line between defamation and freedom of speech. So I can say, oh, you a fuck nigga, you a liar, you a this, you a that. It's freedom of speech. And at the same time, you're going to try to prove that what I said defamed you and cost you money down the road. And John doesn't really have a claim for that. The burden of proof on a defamation case is so high, you got to really prove that things that the public said about you, not things that you actually did yourself, you know what I'm saying? And we know that he's done a lot of things himself. Things that the public has said about you has caused you to not be able to do business. And you're never going to be able to meet that burden, not with what I've seen. So this is just another false thing that he has out there that just doesn't necessarily make sense. Let me play something for you. He's actually lucky I'm not at the crib. Like, he's lucky. Like, I thought about just doing a whole story on John, like minus him though, like an untold truth with John that where he actually don't talk, where I actually narrate it for him and tell y'all this whole story behind this situation, because I don't really believe a lot of stuff he said, and a lot of things he say don't add up, especially him not knowing anything about Tubi. That's a lie. That's a lie. Like, oh, I didn't even know the battles were gonna be on Tubi. I didn't know nothing. That's a lie, bro. That is a lie. So let me just play this.
Situation to do with the Tubi and everything like that.
Right.
And that's when I guess this random middleman investor guy comes out and he basically says, you're tripping. He's bugging. Why would John put that? He knows everything.
So,
you know what I'm saying?
Let me just ask this.
Okay.
In my statement, I said I had nothing to do with the Tubi thing, right?
Yes, exactly.
Now,
and he's saying you did, or you know about it, or whatever.
No, did he say if I had anything to do with it?
He's saying you had knowledge on all of this. Like, you taking yourself out, acting as if you don't know or you don't have
Doesn't
anything.
matter if I knew or not.
Okay.
I said I had nothing to do with it.
Okay.
That's what I said.
Yes.
Did I say I never knew nothing about it?
No, you didn't say that.
I said I had nothing to do with it.
Okay.
Did this person say, no, he did have something to do with it? Or did he say he knew about it?
He said you knew about it.
Okay.
Okay.
So where's the issue?
I guess people are looking at it as if you got paid. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No,
you made money
if I had nothing to do with it.
All right, so there was someone on Twitter that, and I got to tweet at the crib. There was someone on Twitter that was like, yo, they gonna burn you down over this whole Tubi situation. And John was saying like, oh, this Tubi situation is news to me. I didn't know anything about it. And I'm like, bro, how you don't know anything about it? And as you can see right here in this video, he's acknowledging that he knew something about it, but he's acknowledging that he didn't have anything to do with it. Like, just because I'm knowledgeable about it doesn't necessarily mean I'm the reason for it. So that's one thing. There's also a 3 Letterman interview that where after I put him on the stock drop list and I said he didn't pay battlers and I said that, you know, battlers were mad and the battles weren't coming out, 3 Letterman caught up with him for an interview and he asked him about the in-game battles. And this is where he was saying, I never said I was going to put the battles out. You know, all I'm responsible for is shooting the battles. What I do with the footage is my own thing, or whatever. I can do what I want to do with the footage. That's when he was saying, if you want to watch the battles, you can go back on VOD and watch the battles and all this kind of stuff. These are the things he was saying in a 3 Letterman interview. But later in the interview, he said that he was going to probably more than likely have to give the battles to the investor because the investor took a loss. So let me see. You admitted in the interview that you were going to have to probably give the battles to the investor because the investor took a loss. That you were going to have to like pay him back by giving him the battles. But now you're on Twitter acting like, and in these interviews and stuff, and behind the scenes talking to people as if you're going to sue the investor for putting them on Tubi. I thought in a 3 Letterman interview you said you were going to have to give the battles to the investor, meaning that he can do what he want to do with it. A lot of this is just John talking in circles. Let me continue to play some more. Hold on.
People are looking at it as if you got paid. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No,
you made money
if I had
off
nothing
this
to
Tubi.
do with it,
Okay.
that means I did not get paid.
Right.
So now what?
All right, so I guess Because I feel like, I feel like you addressed this before. Even the day of it happened when we spoke and you did your recap and things like that. But it's a year later. Now that, all this time has happened and things like that, what really happened in Endgame? You know what I'm saying? We know Cassidy got sick or whatever. But, like, what happened? Why is it at this point where it's like, get all...
I gotta find a clip. I don't feel like playing that whole video. There's a part in this interview with Knowledge where he basically asks, hold on. He basically asked John about doing the battle again. He said, is there a way that we could do the battle? And John basically said he didn't want to do the battle. So I'm trying to figure out how you're going to say that that Cassidy has to quote unquote fulfill the obligation of doing a battle that you have multiple times in multiple interviews said you don't want to do the battle. You said on 3 Letterman you didn't want to do the battle. You just said 4 days ago you didn't want to do the battle. Hip Hop Is Real just asked you, did you want to do the battle? In this long ass interview you did, you said no, that you weren't interested in doing a battle again, that you were just off it, you were over it, you was like, just tired, you just wanted to be done. You said all this stuff. And then I know a league tried to book the battle and you declined. So all of these things happen. Now you suing Cassidy and TBL for booking a battle that you have repeatedly said you don't even want to do. That don't even make sense. Like, that doesn't make sense, bro, because in your cease and desist, you would be saying that he has to fulfill the battle. He has to fulfill his obligation before he can move to another obligation. But in multiple times, you have said you're not interested in that obligation. So why are you trying to stop a battle that you clearly aren't interested in? It's just a lot of this just don't make sense. And I don't really feel like any of this is true. I don't think you got a lawyer. I don't think you're suing anybody. I don't think you got a real cease and desist. I don't think you have no documentary coming out. I don't think you got anything. I just think you're saving face because you probably didn't think a lot of this shit would just blow up. And it just blew up. And me, shout out to Piperboy. Me and Piperboy was talking and we were just like, yo, the day and age right now of media, you just have to get in front of your bullshit. You just have to, because when it was just me, Piperboy, Jay Black, 3 Letterman, and Angry Fan, when it was just us in the beginning, yeah, we might report on something. We wouldn't have went all of these extra steps. It wouldn't have been that important to us, or we wouldn't have cared enough, or we wouldn't have really had a quote unquote vendetta against John, or we wouldn't have cared to go this far. Meaning, we may say, oh, the battles didn't come out, you didn't pay people. Okay, we grind you up about not paying people. But maybe you catch up with somebody on the card and you ask them about not getting paid. Okay, cool. It then went from there to I'm going to track down the investor. I'm going to try to interview a co-owner of Bullpen. You know what I'm saying? These are things Battle Facts did. And I'm not saying anything is wrong with that. But what I'm saying is that in this day and age, media and bloggers are going way further to get to the bottom of something. They're fact checking everything on top of everything that you do. We live in a day and age where people are pulling people's paperwork from court cases. People are talking to like outside people. People are talking to baby mamas. You know what I'm saying? John just had an issue with his baby mama. Niggas are on live with his baby mama. Like, we never see this in battle rap, bro. That's almost like Bill Collector. I think he recently had something with his wife or something. I don't know if they still together or whatever, but I know he had an issue where people were talking about his wife left him. In this day and age with the way media is, niggas will interview Bill Collector's wife. Like, yo, I heard you was leaving Bill Collector. And I was telling Piperboy, this is how media is. And it got like that when it got to the Battle Truths, the ADEPs, the DME Detroits, all that. They went so far in trying to expose people and trying to get the quote unquote tea way further than the first wave of media would do. Like, we might get in your business a little bit. We'll leave it alone. If we were covering this John shit, we would have covered it. We would have left it alone eventually. I don't really need to speak to the investor, quote unquote, because I just don't believe nothing John John is saying. So for me, I'm already feeling like John John on bullshit. But in this day and age, niggas gonna try to fact check every single thing they can, bro. If they could get a hold of John John's paternity test to prove that the baby is his, they'll post it online. That's just how far people get. And when you know that's how far people go in today's day and age, you have to get in front of bullshit because it's never going away. And that's why I was just like, John John just doesn't realize that he went through this whole thing about, so what's the investor's name? What's the middleman's name? Does he have a company? Does he have a this? So he was implying as if like the nigga wasn't real, or if the nigga wasn't thorough, or he wasn't a good source, or Battle Facts ain't credible, or whatever. Going through all this, Battle Facts would just debunk that the very next day in a blog. He'll just call the investor back up and go even further to disprove you. So once again, John John, there was a middleman, and that guy did do business with John John. All of this stuff is really, really true. And I just feel like if John, I told Piperboy this, I said if John John wanted to clear his name, there's one thing he could do to clear his name. He don't have no credibility. It's over with. He don't have none, okay? You're not gonna be able to discredit the blogger. You're not gonna be like, oh, Battle Facts, I'm gonna discredit you. You're not gonna be able to do that because in all fairness, I do feel like Battle Facts has handled this situation pretty fairly in terms of just asking questions in the beginning. Like I know now it got a little bit petty with the I own bullpen now and all. Now it got petty, but in the beginning he was just asking questions. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to get clarity. So you need a neutral party who the culture will trust to be on your side. And that's Avocado. He's the one person who would know something about the contract, who would know something about the footage because he shot the footage, so he had to give it to somebody. He would know a little bit about whether or not, who was supposed to pay him, and was it supposed to be John John or was it supposed to be the investor? Because you know the middleman investor dude was like, oh well, I found out Avocado didn't get paid, so me and Avocado called John John on three-way and John John didn't answer the phone. Avocado can fact check all of that because John John in the Hip Hop Is Real interview is dumbing down on the fact that him and Avocado still have a good relationship. So my point is, if John John really did stand-up business and everything was good and there was no issues, Avocado is somebody that can vouch for him and be like, no, John John did good, this happened, this happened, the investor didn't do this, the investor didn't pay me, and then we can start discrediting the investor a little bit. But right now, the investor seems solid, the middleman seems solid, the blogger seems solid, the media seems solid, and John John doesn't. So if I'm John John, fuck all this cease and desist, fuck all this legal shit. I'm just gonna do an interview with Avocado, and I'm just gonna let Avocado just tell people how the fucking investor and all these niggas just wasn't paying niggas, or didn't do this, or I took a loss, or had to pay Avocado out of my own pocket because the investor didn't. I feel like Avocado is the only other person close enough to the situation that isn't like Will. See, Will works with Bullpen. He's got a relationship with John John. No disrespect to Will, but Will is gonna always have a little bit of John John's back. Avocado is really the one that can kind of like shed a lot of more light on the situation. So if I'm John John, that's who I would be trying to get in an interview and be like, okay, let me set up an interview with you, so you can let niggas know I'm not the reason you didn't get paid. Because right now it's like, damn, you didn't pay Danny Myers, you didn't pay all these Shay Rat, you didn't pay all these people, and then it's like, damn, you ain't even pay the cameraman. So I think Avocado could save you a little bit, even though I don't think John John could ever be saved completely, but I mean, like, I think people look at Avocado as he would be credible. He would be somebody without an agenda, somebody that you can kind of believe. And I feel like that's where I would have started at. Because right now it just looks like the investor gave you money and you didn't pay Avocado. That's literally what the investor said, that he gave you money, you were supposed to pay Avocado, and Avocado didn't get paid. That's literally what the middleman said. The only way to debunk that is to get Avocado on the line and find out if that's true. and Avocado should be able to say who was supposed to pay him. So I don't know, dog. And if you're not gonna show contracts and all this stuff and that, like, by the time you get to trying to show any of this shit, just real talk, nobody's gonna give a fuck. Cause all this legal shit, all this, like, look how long this URL shit dragged out between them and RBE. By the time you get to where you need to go, your reputation will be done. The fact anybody giving a fuck about anything you got going on will be done. And by the time you feel like, okay, I'm gonna spill the tea now, nigga, summer of 2026, nobody's gonna care about this story no more. So that's just how I feel about this whole situation. And I'm hearing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and I'm not gonna lie, bro, it just seems like you just don't got your shit together. I'm just gonna keep it real with you. You know what I'm saying? Just from people that you talking to behind, you ain't talking to me, but you talking to niggas that I know who you talking to, and they, you know what I'm saying, shit is just getting out, and it just don't seem like you got your shit together at the end of the day. And it's a bigger thing with what you have, but I'm gonna say that for later. It's a bigger issue with what's going on with you. But this cease and desist of the Cassie shit doesn't make sense. It's just gonna ruin your relationship with TBL. It's just gonna ruin your relationship with Ballers, and just the way things are just looking. And it just looks like, okay, you want to stop a battle that you don't want to do. It just kind of reminds me of URL stopping Av and Twerk. They don't want to book Av. So why, like, you don't even see Av on URL. They don't want to do the battle. They just didn't want TBL to have it. You're in the same situation. You don't want to do the battle, but then you don't want Easy to do the battle either. Or you don't want Cassidy to get another check. It's just not going to make sense. They're going to do the battle anyway. It's going to do whatever it is that it does. Nobody's going to give a fuck. And that cease and desist is not going to be respected. So just my thoughts. Holla at your boy.